Howdy scale guys, Nexas here and welcome back to Destiny 2, and in today's video guys we are here with the state of the game August 2023, in parentheses maybe this dog to kick it, whatever way you want to say it. It's no twit, okay? There's no name for it. But state of the game basically comes every year, kind of in and around new DLCs or new seasons, whatever, to kind of go over exactly where we are at in terms of what the game is like, what Bungie are hoping to bring in to update everything to make it more fresh and exciting and everything like that. And it comes from the game director himself, Joe Gogoroth. So of course it's gonna have a lot of info of what's coming up next season, and of course beyond that in terms of final shape and everything like that. It is lengthy though. It is a beefy boy. These are always way bigger than the Twids because this is, I think, nearly 7,000 words long. So there is a lot of kind of filler and everything. We will skip over most of the filler. We'll kind of go into the nitty gritty of course, PvP and the ritual playlist and also other things. I will say I generally don't do videos on this sort of thing in terms of going over twabs or whatever Twids. This is usually kind of exact across his things, but he's at GXC, you guys. We got this. We got this. But yeah, we're going to skip a lot of the filler. Of course, the start of it is just Joe kind of thanking us as a community and all the new lights who have come in, of course, from Lightfall and everything, and also people who continue to play the game and whatnot. It's a lot of stuff there. As I said, you can read this on Bungie's webpage if you want to, but this is kind of filler. It's not really going over what we have in the game or what's coming up. So the first thing that kind of has a bit of meat to it is of course going to be the ritual updates. So what Joe is saying is that we've heard plenty of feedback from players that our core ritual playlist should feel more consistently rewarding to play, and that those rewards should drop more frequently regardless of the activities you like to play. We agree. Let's talk about what we've done so far and what we're doing in Season 22 to achieve this. So that is going to, of course, be next season. With Season of the Deep, we've upgraded the weekly ritual challenge rewards to exotic engrams to give everyone consistent sources of materials to focus the exact exotic armor they want to run. In Season 22, we're updating those weekly ritual challenge requirements so players can complete their 9 challenges in any ritual playlist they'd like. Actually, a really nice change. It means that if you're a PvP main, you can just stay in PvP. Same with PvE and it's, of course, Gambit, okay? They mentioned the Gambit. You should be happy, okay? That's the best you're gonna really get. We'll also be increasing the frequency of ritual engram drops after completing ritual activities, and we're making the latest ritual loot pool weapons focusable at their respective vendors at the start of the season for the first time, rather than needing to wait until the following season to chase those god rolls. So basically, you used to have to wait a year before you could actually focus them, so you just had to orangey hell, and these weapons, the ritual ones, they got massive freaking perk pools. So you used to have to orangey hell to get god rolls. Now you will be able to focus it, which honestly is a huge kind of quality of life change. But following on from that, we're loading up our ritual vendors with fresh weapons in Season 22, including the Unending Tempest Stasis Submachine Gun in the Crucible, Looning Regolith 3 in Solar Sniper Rifle in Strikes, and the Quail Zafan 5 Void Machine Gun in Gambit. I hope I got the... Oh, there's still more. The Cataphract GL's 3 Strand Grenade Launcher in Trials of Osiris. Man, these names, I hope I got them right. So basically, we're getting a Stasis SMG in Crucible, a Solar Sniper in Strikes, and a Void Machine Gun in, of course, Gambit, and a Strand Grenade Launcher, which will be the first of its kind, of course, in Destiny in Trials of Osiris. So that's pretty exciting. I think that the Stasis SMG is probably going to be the most interesting thing. This is how we're making our core rituals more rewarding overall, but what we're doing for more specific areas, let's start with PvP. So they will go through PvP, so Guardian v Guardian, PvP. Thanks to the hard work of multiple teams, we've delivered several additions to PvP over the past few seasons. These include the launch of Competitive Division, multiple new game modes, a revamp of Trials of Osiris, new competitive and trials rewards, fireteam matchmaking improvements, new rotator playlist, PvP specific weapon tuning, several quality of life improvements, and more. However, we know our hardcore PvP players want more maps, fewer cheaters, and an ever-evolving meta that feels good to compete in. I will agree with a lot of that. This is a lot of kind of fluff to it a bit, because a lot of these changes, I will definitely say Competitive Division wasn't a great addition. Honestly, nobody plays it because it's pretty badly done. The revamp of Trials, again, a lot of people don't like the bubble Trials and everything, so he mentions a lot of things here. I know I'm being a bit negative here, but he mentions a lot here, but a lot of it's negative stuff. It's not even anything that was really good. Like even the several, what's it called, the matchmaking, the fireteam matchmaking, as much as I like solo playlist, the lobby balancing is like one of the worst parts. So hopefully there's more to it. And I will definitely agree. The sentiment is that PvP players, I don't even know if it's just hardcore, PvP players in general, you don't have to be a hardcore PvP player to want fewer cheaters. First of all, nobody wants cheaters. I don't think there's anyone who's sitting there going, I want cheaters, but new maps is definitely be a thing, and definitely changing metas a lot more consistently. We've had some metas that just last months on end. An ever-evolving meta would definitely be number 1 for PvP in general, and cheaters would be number 1. Number 2 would be the meta, and then number 3 would be the maps, apart from hardcore PvP players. But the most frequent feedback we see is that there is just not enough new PvP content, specifically new maps, to set expectations Our studio structure is built to support more overarching updates to PvP like the ones above, rather than focusing exclusively on maps. When we do focus our resources on building new Crucible maps, it comes with the trade-off of multiple teams' bandwidth on work that contributes to a variety of experience that players also hold dear, such as new story or exotic mission content, core activities that make up the foundation of each season, or new destinations. Similarly, bringing back reprise maps also involves extensive porting to the latest version of Destiny 2, which requires additional resources to ensure the maps work correctly for multiple game modes and playstyles for years to come. So yeah, this is kind of just going over why they haven't brought out new maps. The one thing I will say is that yes, there is kind of resources getting taken away every now and again when you have to make these new maps or whatever. But the problem with the maps and a lot of PvP players is that we haven't had maps or a new map in literal years. Of course, Disjunction came out. Disjunction's not a great map. I'm gonna be real. Disjunction, a lot of people hate it. Even if Disjunction was a great map, that's one map we've gotten in years. So to say that it's just a lack of resources and everything like that, or it pulls from other missions, like of course exotic missions are going to be banging and they're always going to be probably the top tier sort of stuff. It's like a raid in Destiny. They're always going to be the top tier stuff to do in Destiny. And I will agree, when it comes to an exotic mission, most people are going to be way more hyped for that than a new map. I mean, a new map, like as I said, Disjunction came out. There was a bit of hype around a new map coming. And even if it was a good map, I think it would be like a bit of hype for it as well. But nothing brings more hype to Destiny than, of course, exotic missions, story mode. Even story missions can be more hype. Raid missions, of course, raids are obviously the biggest hype of Destiny 2, I think, in general. So I do understand why the resources are kind of focused more toward that. But I do think that only getting one PvP map in a couple of years still isn't exactly great. Even if they're only making like a map maybe a year, that would make more sense. But one map every like 3 or 4 years is just... it's a very, very small amount of maps. And I honestly do think when it comes to this sort of feedback in terms of maps and everything, one of the biggest gigabrain moves they could actually do, which might take a ton of resources, but it'd be a one and done type of thing, is just release the Forge mode. If Destiny had a Forge mode, I'm telling you right now, it wouldn't be up to them to make the maps. I'm telling you, the amount of people in this community who are super good at building things, are really creative minds. The community could make their own maps in a Forge mode, and it would be some of the best content you would ever get in PvP. You wouldn't even have to really look after PvP other than freaking obviously Sandbox changes and of course the core playlist. You wouldn't really have to look after those if there was a Forge mode. I know it's a huge undertaking and it's probably not feasible, and that would probably obviously spread the resources really thin when it comes to bandwidth and everything like that. But I think that would be the biggest saving grace when it comes to maps and everything. I think at the moment, new maps, they will go over a new map that we will be getting, but I do think that currently the one map every couple of years or every year or so, it doesn't really go well when it comes to new content PvP. For Season 22, we have a new Vex Network themed map debuting along with the new Relic 6v6 mode, the gunplay focused checkmate modifier for multiple modes, a new competitive Ascendant Division emblem, and more Relic and checkmate will both kick off in Crucible Labs throughout the season so we can gather feedback on how they are received. So yeah, new content we are going to be getting next season is going to be a new map, which is this Vex Network themed map. Honestly, looks pretty dope. We don't know how it's going to play and everything. So next is, of course, this checkmate modifier. So checkmate is a modifier where rich primary weapon fights can happen more often, and gun skill can be augmented by communication and strong positioning. Primary weapon damage has been tuned to feel different than the rest of the game without being jarring, reducing the gap between the faster killing weapons and average time to kill, and in general pushing longer range primaries into slower killing profiles. Player health has been increased, all ability cooldowns are lengthened, and special ammunition must be earned via gameplay and is not dropped on death. This honestly, all this kind of tells me is that checkmate is going to be a lot more like Destiny Year 1, Destiny 2 Year 1. So it's going to be a lot more in terms of primary gameplay, but increased health. So, and then obviously team shotting, that's what this whole augmented by communication and strong positioning is. Obviously, we're going to give our feedback in Crucible Labs. I would have liked if they just left the health the way it was, so we just had a primary kind of gameplay. But again, this is something we're just going to have to see when it comes out. And speaking when it comes out, checkmate will be available in Crucible Labs from week 5 to week 10. We'll start off with 2 weeks of checkmate control, then switch it up with 2 weeks of checkmate survival, and finally 2 weeks of checkmate rumble to finish off its trial run for season 2022. It seems to be just a modifier that they add in. It doesn't seem to be like a brand new game mode or anything like that, so it'd be interesting to see how it actually plays out and everything. But as I said, this is one of those things where you've got to try it first before we can really knock it. But if you did play Destiny 2 Year 1, you can probably kind of tell what you're going to be getting out of this. Now on to Relic, which is of course going to be the new 6v6 party mode, where players wreak havoc and destruction on their foes with Relic weapons. Relics include the Aegis from the Vault of Glass, the Synaptic Spear from Season of the Riven, and the Scythe from Season of the Haunted. Each player charges their personal Relic energy by defeating opponents with the normal loadout. Upon reaching full charge, players can acquire a relic from a relic depot. Defeating relic holders and using the relics to defeat opponents earns points for the team. This relic is intended to provide lighthearted gameplay that can be enjoyed by anyone, similar to Mayhem and Team Scores. So yeah, it's gonna be sort of like that. I don't mind sort of playlists like these. I think they're fun and everything like that. Obviously, it's not gonna be a Trials game or anything. So these are kind of things for everybody to kind of play. It doesn't matter your skill level, you'll still have fun. And then more to come in Season 23. Of course, Season 23 will be the final shape and everything. So looking further ahead, we're planning to deliver a new Iron Banner mode for Season 23. Along with a brand new Hake Aggressive Frame Strand Pulse Rifle as our newest competitive division weapon rewards. So the Mercurial Overwatch Adaptive Frame Arc Sniper will remain available for competitors throughout Season 22. So no new weapon next season, of course, to kind of grind out for it will be a sniper again. But Season 23 with the final shape, we will get that Aggressive Frame Strand Pulse Rifle. So that's a bit of a miss for me, to be honest. I think there should be a new weapon pretty much every season. But that is it for PvP overall in terms of the state of the game. When it comes to it in terms of feedback and everything, I will say it's kind of not disappointing, but there's not much to really go on. I mean, there will be meta changes in terms of course, upcoming weapon changes next season. And the new map could be really, really interesting. And of course, the checkmate game mode or modifier could be really dope as well. But it's not going to keep me playing PvP as I used to always play it. Next is, of course, going to be the Vanguard itself. This is actually a super small kind of thing because, as Joe says, it's in a solid place with a healthy population because PvE is pretty much the only thing people are really playing right now. It's not going to be adding much content. It's basically going to be adding into the Vanguard Ops and Nightfalls the whole thing of Vanguard medals. So if you ever did the Sauce the Heroes or the Guardian Games sort of event, the Guardian Games brought in these medals that you could do certain things to earn medals to increase your score and everything. That's basically what they're adding to, of course, Vanguard Ops and Nightfalls. I think the main thing you're going to be looking at is this part here where it says we've also recently focused more of a team's resources into more varied and frequent seasonal activities, such as battlegrounds that can later make their way into Vanguard playlists alongside the strikes, and eventually serve as new additions to Nightfall and Grandmaster playlists. So basically, they kind of focus more on adding newish kind of content in terms of battlegrounds and other types of season activities like deep dives. And then they're going to try to incorporate them into the Vanguard playlists as strikes and of course as Nightfall and Grandmaster playlists. Honestly, I think that's a big thing. I think that PvE, it never really needs much changes when it comes to the Sandbox, because the Sandbox is kind of what you make of it in PvE, because it's not like in terms of time to kills or anything like that. You can mess around with it. Changes happen in terms of exotics. New exotics come out. But generally speaking, the biggest thing for me when it comes to PvE is just different sort of things to do. So when you do a strike, the first time you do a strike, it's fun. The second time maybe fun as well. But when you get to like the fourth or fifth time of doing the same strike over and over again, it starts to get a little bit stale. And I think that's the biggest problem with PvE right now, is that it can get a bit stale. So having new playlists constantly coming into the game will definitely be a bigger thing for, I think, PvE and everything. But as I said, PvE is in a really solid state, so he didn't really have to give much on this. And finally, we are going to get to the long lost child of the core playlist. That is going to be Gambit. Guys, if you're a Gambit main, I'm going to be totally honest. This isn't it for you. This kind of screws you. It's mentioned, guys. It is a mention. You're getting some things, but my good God, guys, this sucks for you guys. The best way of picturing this before I go over it is that if you think of the meme where it's like some kid getting held up by a parent, the other kid is drowning, and then you've got the skeleton underneath the water who's just completely gone. Gambit is that skeleton. Gambit is legit that skeleton right now. So yeah, they kind of go over that they've been quiet on Gambit since last year and the overhaul with the Witch Queen, and they will admit that unfortunately these updates didn't move the needle for player engagement, so nobody really went back to Gambit at all. I will say there is some fans of it, of course, but not much people went back to it. And legit, this is what I mean. They say we don't have plans to dedicate more resources to significantly transform Gambit, but they do have few updates planned for the year of the final shape. So basically, we ain't getting Gambit Prime back, boys. They ain't going to be significantly transformed Gambit. We're legit, content-wise, only going to get some maps back. So these include porting the Cathedral of Scars map and its beautiful Dreaming City setting into the latest version of Destiny 2, as well as adding Shadow Legion and Lucent Hive enemy types. So when it comes to a new map and everything, it's a map we've already had, so it's not a brand new map we're getting. So you're sort of like, Gambit is sort of falling into what PvP kind of was. At least we're getting a new map in PvP, but Gambit is like not getting anything again. And this doesn't say next season or anything. This is coming in final shape, or the year of the final shape. So this doesn't even mean it'll be the first season of the final shape. This could come in the second season, third season, whatnot, because obviously they got them planned out. So yeah, I can definitely say that Gambit, you're definitely going to be struggling. You're definitely going to struggle, boys. You're definitely going to be struggling. And they're actually also reducing the need to go into Gambit. So that's going to further reduce the playlist population, because before then, we're making Gambit entirely optional to maximize your rewards unless you are looking for a piece of gear that's specific to the mode. Gambit will continue to serve as a source of exotic engrams via weekly challenges. Though, as we mentioned above, you'll be able to complete all your weekly challenges to any ritual you'd like starting in Season 22. If you want to stick to Vanguard or Crucible challenges without touching Gambit, now you can. So they basically just here, all I read from this is they basically just said, we know nobody likes Gambit, or a lot of people don't want to play Gambit, so we're gonna give you the option to never touch it at all, which honestly is just, that sucks. For people who are fans of the Gambit playlist, this legit reduces the player freaking attention to this. Like, I'd only ever go into Gambit for pinnacles. Now I have absolutely no need unless I want that ritual weapon, which next season is going to be a freaking Void LMG, which already tells me I don't really want it unless it's got some absolutely cracked out perks. I'm probably not going to go into Gambit for it. We're also reducing the number of Gambit specific seasonal challenges starting in season 22, so players won't need to bank most to be able to earn that big purse of Bright Dust for completing nearly every challenge in the season. So even furthermore, they're basically saying, if you don't want to do Gambit, don't do it. You don't have to. You can get your seasonal stuff, of course, by doing the other playlists, which again is just legit such a defeatist attitude for a playlist that has so much potential, so much. They're basically just saying, you don't have to do Gambit at all next season if you don't want to, unless you want this new Void machine gun, which again, as I said, unless it's absolutely cracked, I don't think people will really need it, because there's other good Void machine guns or other good machine guns in the game that take its slot. So yeah, I will definitely say, guys, Gambit mains, you are struggling. This is not what you wanted to see at all. Honestly, this is like a step before they legit just stripped from the game and say nobody's playing it, we won't put any resources into it. This is such a defeatist attitude, honestly. This is pretty disappointing. I'm never really just angry at Bungie or anything like that. I'm not really angry for this because it makes sense on their end, but this is super defeatist. I think that if you're a Gambit player or a Gambit main, you should rightly be angry about this, but there's legit nothing more I can say other than this is massively disappointing, and it's just legit, this is one step away from getting taken out of the game. I'm not gonna lie, this is legit what I feel like it's at. Okay, hopefully we move on to more positive stuff. Armor set rewards. A long time ago, we shared a plan to address concerns on reward balance. Players have pointed out that we didn't release a new armor set for the Ritual playlist, Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit, with Lightfall as previously called out in our yearly release schedule. Delivering the Ritual armor sets at the rates we have in the past has become increasingly challenging, especially considering these sets have historically had very low adoption by players as both base armor and cosmetic ornaments. At this time, we are amending our delivery plans for how often we refresh these sets and will no longer be creating a new set for every expansion. Here's a preview of the Titan armor from the set coming with season 22. So this is going to be the new Titan one. Honestly, this actually looks pretty sick. I'm not gonna lie, I actually do kind of like this a lot. I think it looks pretty dope. As much as I kind of agree that they have low adoptions because nobody really rocks the Vanguard suit of armor and everything like that, or maybe Crucible gets a bit of rocking, Gambit not so much. I do think it's kind of sad that they're not going to do them every year. I mean, especially with things like, I don't really like to bring up microtransactions that much and everything, but a lot of the gear that we get through microtransactions always look banging, and they come yearly as well. So obviously you can get some rituals every year, but like every season, of course, of Solstice, every Guardian games, we get some brand new armor that usually looks dope, and a lot of people start wearing them. Like the season of the Solstice gear this year really does look dope. It's just kind of sad that those playlists again are losing more and more loot to kind of make us want to grind. This is what everyone is saying about the core playlist not being sort of worth grinding out for, is that the loot there is just not desirable, so you don't want to spend hours trying to do it. If there was like a really cool, like we had back in the day, I know it's going to harp on D1, when you did the Scion strike back in the day, there was a hunter cloak, which was the Flare hunter cloak. That thing was an absolute banging piece of gear. It had a super low drop rate, which made it even more desirable, but it was really cool. And there was 3 different types. So they had one that was of course orange for solar, they had one that was blue for arc, and they had one that was purple for void. I remember spending hours on end trying to get that ornament, or not even ornament, trying to get that cloak. So if they did something like that, maybe made something like really sick that's part of a strike, it would increase the core playlist, what's called engagement, so much more. Moving on to the game security though, there is a lot here in terms of course, cheaters and everything like that. Basically, they've been talking about how they've been improving the security over the year. There's a lot of fluff kind of here about how they worked with BattleEye, how they're training their AI and everything to kind of learn the data science behind who is cheating and using like networking hacking tools, and how they're using their litigation team, which is their lawyers and everything, to combat people from the source. These take time though, that's what they say here. It takes a lot of time for these things to happen in terms of banning the cheats from the source. And also they're trying their best, of course, with BattleEye to kind of work on getting cheaters at the moment. But basically it's just kind of it's a cat and mouse game, cheating. And that's why I could read through this all for you, but cheating is just kind of best game. You're never going to stop cheating altogether. Obviously, you can get a lot more rampant at certain times, but cheating, again, for me, it's super hard to combat, so I do not envy them. They do mention the stability again, a lot of jargon kind of hear about what's happening. Stability has been a bit of a thing, of course, over the last few seasons. They've been doing some massive back-end work, of course, on the logs and their claim system. They kind of went over these in this update again, so if you want to go over this again, you'll see it in the patch notes, or in this freaking state of the game. There will be a patch note kind of where they mentioned the freaking the claim system and everything. There's a ton of technical jargon here. I don't really want to go through it in a video because I wouldn't know much about it myself, but overall, they're basically trying to make the servers more stable for obviously season 2, and then beyond season 2, they will start working on more future-proofing issues that happen. So you might still get some more stability issues, of course, throughout season 22 as well. But of course, season 23, they want to be nailing those security stability issues and be more forefront and be more proactive, so they actually catch the issues and obviously the downtime before it actually happens. Now, granted, you're still going to have your odd downtime, guys. What I will say, what comes up next is actually some of the best things from this freaking state of the game, and it's the quality of life upgrades. So, guys, this one's a huge one for me. Cosmetic favoring, though. This is basically going to be favoriting your freaking favorite shaders. So you can do a favoriting and pin up to 100 of your favorite shaders, which honestly for me is a big deal, guys. Have you ever gone to try to do fashion and you have to keep on looking for Jacarnia, the freaking Cata Selected, the Queen's Web? You got to keep on going and looking for those beautiful freaking shaders every time. When you get more shaders, it starts getting more diluted. Now you'll be able to favorite your shaders, which honestly for me, huge change to the game. That is a massive quality of life changes. All these upgrades as well, all these quality of life upgrades should be coming next season as well. So don't be thinking this is a final shape thing. This should be next season too. Next one is going to be stasis aspects and fragments moved to the vendor system. So basically you will be able to buy them for Glimmer. No longer having to do those dumbass freaking quests and everything. So it means it's kind of like a catch-up mechanic for a lot of OP or new players, whatever. So you don't have to keep on grinding out in every character, all these quests and fragments, whatever. Super big. I think that's a massive change as well. And next one is going to be transmats will now be unlocked. So basically transmats come up every time you respawn or load into an area and everything. Once you use them, they used to disappear basically. Now there will be, of course, a freaking thing you can keep. I don't know if they're going to be retroactive. So I don't know if you've used some already and have no more, if you'll have it in your thing. They actually don't mention it. There will be a resource tab added to collections as well, basically telling you what the different resources do and how you can acquire them. There will be some changes to the Iron Banner challenges as well. So basically at the moment, to do the challenges to get your rep up, you got to basically play a bunch of Crucible matches using specific subclasses, which really did negate certain metas and also made certain arc classes. So if it was arc that month, it made freaking Titan, or Arc Void, it made Titans just unbearably good. So now they are splitting it up. So basically there will be two different kind of stacking challenges you can do. So one for players who just want their reputation, which doesn't obviously require seasonal specific subclasses. And then if you want those pinnacle rewards, you will have to do the seasonal subclass part of it. So honestly, really nice for people who just want to dip in and get their freaking rewards in terms of pinnacles. You've got to use a subclass. And if people who just want to rank up for maybe, obviously, the Iron Lord title, you don't have to use a specific subclass. You can still use your freaking Soda Warlock or Soda Hunter, whatever you want to use. Next is Sandbox updates, which obviously was mentioned a lot in previous twids and everything like that. But the main things are really going to be these. So the new Strand aspects are going to be, of course, really cool. You got Whirling Maelstrom for Hunter, Banner of War for Titans, and the Weave Walk for Warlock. So don't know exactly what these are going to be, but next season or coming to the next season, they'll kind of tell us a bit more. They are looking at doing more exotic armor rework, so basically they're going to shake things up. They don't tell us too much here, but basically they are going to be giving us more over the next few weeks. Honestly, what's pretty cool as well is that there will be a new weapon subfamilies incoming. So of course, for the final shape, they want to be introducing some entirely new weapon subfamilies. Obviously, the showcase will showcase more. The showcase will showcase, of course. We will get more info, of course, then and everything. But at the moment, you kind of just have to set your expectations, I will say, but be somewhat excited for it. The last kind of part of the article is reinforcing our goals for the year. This is kind of, again, a lot of just kind of, I'd say, bloatware in terms of stuff. They're basically going over what their last year's freaking state of the game was and what they were planning to do and how they've kind of achieved it this season. One of the biggest things I will say, though, is that they aren't going to be raising the power level, of course, next season. That's going to be staying the same. So basically, your freaking artifact is going to be how you raise your power level. So your GMs, you're going to have to raise that power level again. I don't really like this way of Destiny, but they've said they got a lot of positive feedback about this. So I'm not going to go against positive feedback that people have gotten. So if it's been good for a lot of people, we can stick with it. I don't mind. One thing that is going to be coming next season as well is going to be, of course, the rotation for exotic missions. So you got things like the Presage, which is a DMT mission. You got things like the Vox Obscura, which of course is the Dread Messenger mission. And each one of these will offer up the respective craftable exotic weapons and catalysts as well. So it means that for people who did miss out on these exotic missions, you will be able to do them, of course, next season. Now, I don't know if it's going to be tied to DLC. So say you didn't buy one of the seasons that the exotic mission came from, and then you have to rotate the next season. They didn't mention it. I don't know, based off previous expansions, like you couldn't do those missions unless you had the DLC. So it's going to be interesting to see what to do here. But they will obviously talk about this a little bit more, of course, when you get close to the launch of Season 22. So again, kind of wait out for that one. And last but not least, they, of course, are going to go over what their big baby of freaking Destiny kind of implementation is. And it's going to be the LFG coming into, of course, Destiny itself. So no longer we have to go online and find people. You will be able to do it in-game itself, which could be a really good addition. They've been working apparently really hard on this, according to leaks and everything. This is a big deal, of course, in the game, and I definitely would check it out once it comes out. But of course, this is going to be Season 23, so this is going to be Final Shape stuff. But that is going to be it for this whole state of the games. I will say overall, I'm somewhat positive. It doesn't blow me away as in I'm going to be like, oh my god, I got to be freaking logging in day one for everything next season. I do definitely think there's a lot of quality of life stuff coming. But when it comes to the core playlist, it definitely doesn't give me too much excitement. As I said, PvP is good in terms of course, we're getting like a new map and everything. It's pretty much what we're kind of asking for, so we can't complain on that front. But when it comes to metas and everything, it's more going to be focused on what the Sandbox changes are actually like. So PvP, I'm kind of excited for next season, but without a pinnacle freaking reward to kind of go for next season, and definitely no revamp to the competitive side of things, especially for me, who's like, I would say hardcore PvP, but definitely a bit of a PvP sweat. I wouldn't be sitting here going, I'm super excited for PvP next season because, again, SPMF is still going to be there. And also, the new playlist checkmate isn't something I haven't really seen before because, as I said, I've played D2 Year 1, which is basically what that's going to be. Then when it comes to PvE, there's not much changes, of course, to it because it's in a really solid state. So there's never really going to be much changes to it. So PvE, eating good again. Eating good again. And then it comes to Gambit, which I will say, legit, it's basically dying, honestly. It seems like from this state of the game, it honestly feels like Bungie are really just wanting to pull the plug on Gambit. They really don't want to put resources into it at all. Sort of like what PvP has been like for a long time. But now they're starting to put a little bit into PvP. They're just like, I don't even want to deal with Gambit right now. They're legit giving us reasons not to play it at this stage. They legit gave us a full paragraph where they want to say, we know you don't want to play Gambit. Here's the paragraph, actually. We know you don't want to play Gambit, so we're not going to force you to. There's not much more I could say. If you're a Gambit main, though, I will be mad. I would be mad. The rest of it, as I say, you can kind of watch through the video or read through it yourself. A lot of changes and everything coming. But they're the main things everyone's kind of focused on with the state of the game. Core playlists have been left alone for so freaking long. So we've been waiting for a good kind of info on how they're going to change them and everything. We may get more info further down the line and closer to Season 22. And of course, with the showcase coming on the 22nd. Overall, from the state of the game, I will say it's more positive than negative. But it's definitely not an absolutely blow me away sort of article. I think changes coming are nice, but I'm not blown away whatsoever. Gambit's such a disappointment. PvE was always going to be in a good state. There was never really much they could do with it, which would be like, oh my god, it's insane. Quality of life changes are really nice and everything. And of course, the rotator coming next season will be nice. But a lot of these changes are for the final shape, not even Season 22. So are they going to keep everyone kind of going to final shape? I don't know, especially with PvP, as I said, no pinnacle net reward next season. New game mode maybe might keep people a little bit more, but overall, not much things to really look forward to next season other than a few new content and lore and everything. Final Shape, it legit seems like Final Shape is where it's going to be at, which a lot of people kind of speculated anyway because seasons are done months in advance. So all this negative sentiment that happened this season wasn't really going to affect next season. It was going to affect obviously Final Shape and the seasons after. But yeah, I will definitely say the TLDR of this whole thing is that don't be really excited for next season. Be way more excited for the final shape. That is when everything will all coagulate together and be like the best Destiny really is at. But yeah, I don't generally do videos like this a lot because it's a lot of long form content and usually Cross and all them do a better job at doing it than me. But regardless, guys, if you did like the video, trust like, anybody see more content, subscribe, fantastic day, and hopefully I'll see the next collective in the next one.